from the beginning of my novel, and I'll say a couple things about it first. It's about a girl who grows up on a commune. It happens in Washington State, so in rural Washington State, a landscape not so different from up here. And she grows up in this failing 1960s commune. It's set in the present day, but the commune started in the 60s. And their charismatic leader has left the commune a few years before the action begins. So her name is Starbird, and you're going to hear some other interesting names in this first chapter. So it's called Starbird Murphy and the World Outside, Chapter 1. The owl hooted in a hemlock tree. Cornstalks shook their arms in the wind, and Indus Stone's footsteps crunched beside mine on the gravel drive as we walked farther away from the main house. Summer fell further behind us with each step, and the trees exhaled their autumn breath, making me shiver. Everyone was in bed but the young people. Story night ended hours ago, and my heart raced like something was chasing me. The moon was as perfect and white as a buttercup hen's egg. It was visible between the fir trees reaching together over our heads. Indus is a southern hemisphere constellation. Why did Earth name me after something I can't see? Maybe you'll get a calling to travel south. The goats bleated as we walked past their pen beyond the cornfield. The September air left a cool mist on my hair and clothes, so I stuffed my hands into the pockets of my wool sweater. In the distance, I could hear frogs croaking by the pond. It was well past midnight, but no part of me felt tired. Mom and I were talking in the house last night after dinner, Indus said. Indus joined the family with his parents when he was a child, so he still called his mother Mom instead of by her name, Bataya. She told me why Dad left when I was a kid. Most of the big trees on the farm were on either side of the driveway. The rest had been torn out to create the back lot, but the Douglas firs by the house were old growth, some over 200 feet tall. I thought he left because he got a calling, I said. So did I. Indus stuffed his hands into the pockets of his jeans. He kicked some gravel on purpose with his boot. At 19, Indus stood 6 inches taller than me and walked gracefully with long strides. Turns out, he couldn't handle Mom sleeping with Earth. Whoa, I said, stopping. The owl hooted again. Your dad gave in to jealousy? Indus kept walking, talking back to me over his shoulder. That's what Mom accused him of. I had a flashlight in the pockets of my jeans, but we didn't need it because of the moonlight's glow on the gravel. On either side of the path, though, the trees and ferns held a close, wet darkness. We walked on together until we came to a clearing on our left, and then we climbed a muddy slope to the chicken coop. I checked for signs of predators while the hens made sleepy, clucking noises inside the roost. Then tested the door to make sure it was closed tight. We walked back to the gravel drive. So your dad wanted to own your mom, I said, pausing to scrape some mud from my boot onto the gravel. I hate it that everyone uses that word, said Indus. Is it so crazy to just want to be with one person? My chest erupted in red, blotchy spots. I could feel them down there, hidden under my sweater. Well, it's dangerous. I stole a glance at him. If you love one person and that person leaves you or dies, then you're all alone. Your dad left, but you still have lots of dads. Yeah, and they keep leaving too. I think we're down to about 6 dads now, he laughed darkly. You shouldn't joke about that. Earth will be back soon. You say that, Indus kicked a pine cone off the path, looking off into the trees. But name one person who came back after being gone for years. Why should Earth come back? If the farm is full of non-believers, I started walking again. That's it with you, he said, following me. Someone's either a believer or a non-believer. Red blotches spread like fire across my neck and shoulders. What else is there? Indus threw his arms out and looked around. What if you just don't know? If you don't believe that we were brought together for a reason, then why stay, I said, walking faster. Why don't you run off like your dad did? Sure, blame my dad because you couldn't possibly blame Earth for anything, could you? Your dad gave in to jealousy. He acted like an outsider. That's not Earth's fault. Indus grabbed my arm and pulled me to a stop in the gravel. Do you really think it's so wrong to want to love one person, to love them enough that you don't want to share them with anyone? We had reached the fire pit, meaning I was almost back to the yurt I lived in with my mother. The owl hooted again. There was malice in the sound. It was a barred owl known for diving at people when it felt territorial. Its talons had dragged through my hair more than once on a night walk. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. It felt like a bird had flown from a fir tree into my throat and down my chest, flapping its wings where my voice should have been. You can't doubt Earth. You have to keep believing in him, I managed to say. You didn't answer me, said Indus. What do you think about loving only one person? I had only loved one person my whole life, and he was in front of me, talking about love and sex and love in the dark under the moon. Jealousy does seem destructive, I said. But I guess I can't really imagine loving more than one person. That's when Indus Stone, chest thick as a tree trunk, pulled me into a hug that left my toes on the ground, his arms around my shoulders so that all I could do was snake my hands up his back. I put my nose into his shirt and inhaled. Nothing existed but the egg moon and the gravel noise and his smell. Then he did something I had been dreaming he would do since I was old enough to braid my own hair. He kissed me, gently at first so our noses touched and our chins and our lips pressed together. It was sweet. It was so sweet I thought it might kill me the way too much chocolate can kill a puppy. And I don't know how long we kissed like that, 100 hours, until something started heating up, like sticks rubbing together to make smoke. And I pulled my arms from under his and wound them around his neck, and then we were kissing ferociously, our lips wet and tense. There were some gravel noises, and then my back was against a Sitka spruce, and the sap was grabbing my hair. Our hands started searching each other's bodies for something. I reached under his sweatshirt and felt the muscles of his chest connect with the muscles in his arms. We gasped and clawed at each other, and I wouldn't have cared if a brown bear was scratching the other side of the tree, or if the owl was flying toward us with his talons out. I wouldn't have stopped. But Indus finally backed away and unwound my body from his. I was 16, and it was the first time a boy had ever kissed me. I would have followed him anywhere that night. To the barn, to the orchard, on a deer trail across the border to British Columbia. But Indus said, well, okay, good night. Like we had just been shaking hands, and his boots graveled off toward the sanctuary, and I guessed I must have stumbled toward the yurt village because I ended up by my door, but I don't remember opening it or taking off my boots. I do remember my mother rolling over on her cot when I entered, and the sticky sap in my hair getting on the pillow, and the raw skin on my lower back where it had rubbed against the bark, and trying to get my heart to slow down and go to sleep, thinking of nothing but him.